Okay, so here I am. My friends call me G, and I'm actually in the Northeast. And this video is about my Worx Landroid Robo Lawnmower. And I had a neighbor come by this morning because she always sees me and she's actually going to buy one. And there she goes. She's cutting the grass. We named her Bootsie because that was my dog's name when I was a little kid. And this is the second year with her, and I have to say that I'm very happy and I love her so far. So here's the story. For those of you thinking you want to save some time and effort cutting grass, I have a fairly large, complicated property. It's not a huge estate. It's about 18,000 square feet. You can see I have this front section where Bootsie's cutting right now. It's actually, because we have a double driveway with two entrances, it's an island, which is part of the complications, and it also has an island in it that Bootsie has to figure out. So that's part one of the story, and now you can sort of see the rest of my property here. It goes far down, and there's a lot of different gardens and things. Fairly complicated yard for a RoboMower, at least at this price level, which was in the $1,000 range. And but a lot of little obstacles and things like that to take care of. Here's the gardens there that we avoid. And you can see there's all kinds of turns and things. We even have the septic tank here with the stones in it. Comes out of the side of the house. And Bootsie has to avoid all those stones and the garden stones. We got some sunflowers growing here with the fence around it, so she's got to avoid that little island. And as we come into the backyard, there's a pond down here in the corner. That's another obstacle. The main thing is that we have this patio, and with the wood chips all around it. And so Bootsie's got to find her way around there. We got this big cedar hedge here in the back, as you can see. Bootsie's got to find her way all the way around down to the end there. It's a pretty narrow strip, and she finds her way in between. We just laid some new sod here in the back, so some of the grass isn't getting cut by her. But anyways, so this, she's got to come all the way around here, and this complicates things. She's got a little pathway in between here, and she's got to come up this little hill to the back side of the house. And there's a little corner here with some grass like that. So there's lots of turns and stuff. And there's that island in the front. And actually that's where we put her base in the back of the house. She's got a base that she plugs into and recharges and all that kind of stuff. And so then there's actually another big part of the yard over this way, which was a little complicated to figure out. And so I keep going across here. I'm just gonna walk down for a couple seconds, and you can see we like gadgets. That's my other mower right there. That's the Tesla. And so we come around the corner here. Here's another one. It's the big tree stump. She's got to get around that. And there's also this whole section of grass beside the street over here, which goes all the way down and touches part of the neighbor's property, but she's got to cover all that amongst all these big cedar trees and all that. So it's a fairly large property, and this is the second year with her. And here she is over here. She's still working. She's doing trimming the edges right now. You can see her right there. Used to be, I had this old electric lawnmower, and Bootsie would really save a lot of time against that. I had that lawnmower, probably bought it for $100 or $150 maybe 20 years ago, and that was the story. And so now I would take 3 hours to mow this property and trim and everything, and now Bootsie does the whole thing. So one of the issues getting set up, I'm going to switch screens right now, so hold on. So one of the issues that we had at the start with the setup was that I didn't realize this when I bought her, but Bootsie needs a big wire put all the way around the yard. So it works by a radio frequency wire. And so I admit that the first week, maybe 10 days, was a bit of a pain in the butt because it was a lot of work. I mean, it wasn't too much work. It was probably maybe 20 hours to get that planted in the yard all the way around all the corners and all that kind of stuff. And I decided to bury it near the driveways. You can see the driveways behind me there. where the car is, and because in the winter the snowplows come, and I didn't want the snowplows to dig up the wire if they were touching the grass or anything like that. So everywhere the grass touches the asphalt, I actually had to bury it. And so that was a bit of work too. So I guess altogether the setup might have taken 15 or 20 hours to get it right. And then once it was plugged in, everything started working fine. And there was still a few bumps to go through because let's see, you know, sometimes you put the pegs in that hold the wire in the grass, and you have to sort of learn the angles of how the wire works. Bootsie can get stuck once in a while in tight corners and things like that, and so you got to figure out how to best place the wire so she doesn't get stuck. So she saves me about 3 or 4 hours a week of yard work, which are better put to other things. And she actually cuts awesome. She trims it just slightly. We keep it at either 3 inches or 2 inches cut, and the cuts actually fertilize the lawn, and so our lawn is actually improving. We have a lot of clover here. She helps spread the clover. We like the mix of clover with the grass, and so the grass is actually becoming healthier. We don't use pesticides or anything like that, and we're actually starting to get frogs. We have a lot of rabbits and things like that, even though we're in a big city. So Bootsie just keeps all that nice and trim now, and it's been a pleasure. I used to be afraid to leave her outside at night living in the big city, but I've realized nobody can actually steal her, or effectively she's going to be useless for anyone who tries to take her away, because you need the passcode, and she's not going to work anywhere but our property. So that was a good thing too. And one of the best things is that she kind of knows the property. She has these zones in her, and this way you can program it and schedule it by day. So she has a schedule that she works. She usually starts at 7 a.m. and she keeps going. She has a rain sensor, so she goes back to the base where she's protected from the rain if it's raining too much. And so she gets a certain amount of hours in each zone spread across the week. And so, for example, that island that I told you guys about, which is right there, I think you can see that. She gets probably 10 or 15% of the time she spends in that island, but the rest of the property is pretty big. So she gets most of the time in front of the house and over on the side, whereas that patch of grass goes to the neighbor's place. So, so far, second year, really happy, and much smoother this year than last year. The spring was kind of rough because, believe it or not, there was a couple squirrels that must have eaten the wire, and I got frustrated with that a little bit. There was probably 3 or 4 times it happened. Bootsie actually cut the wire a couple times too because I hadn't placed it right, or it wasn't buried deep enough, or it doesn't have to be buried, but it has to be below the grass, and sometimes it gets caught if it's sticking out a little bit or stuff like that. But I've learned those lessons, and so everything's really smooth now. And even when squirrels eat the wire, what happens is you just do a patch on the wire. And there's a way to do it. I get some waterproof tape and I reconnect the RF wire. It's just like sort of like stereo wire. And you expose the wire from the plastic cable. You cut it back and you reconnect the wires, and then you tape it up, make it waterproof and solid. And so now I'm really quick at doing the little repairs. It doesn't really happen that often now. It's probably going to be only once this summer that I actually had to deal with that. And anyways, that only takes 10 minutes to fix. And so it's all wonderful now. The yard looks great. And the only thing I'm wondering about now is how long is that battery going to last? And I know they're pretty expensive to replace. I was on the website, but I forget. And the other thing I'll mention here now is that the lawn is beautiful. And the guys at Worx, company that sells the Landroid, were super helpful in getting this set up because the yard was so complicated. Couple issues with that is that you can only spread the RF wire a certain distance, or else it's not going to be able to transmit anymore. And we were at kind of like the limit with all the curves and turns and everything that we had to do here. We have a lot of wire put down, and but it still worked out fine. And then the last part of the job that I have to do, or that I had to do, you can see it probably right here. Here's our asphalt driveway. And I had to get Bootsie to be able to cross the driveway. So I actually had to cut the asphalt 2 thin lines Didn't take very long. I cut with one of those rentable asphalt cutters, sort of like a circular saw. Cost about $50 to rent it, and I just cut those 2 lines in the driveway and then buried the wire through there, and covered it with some black asphalt tar that you can get at one of the hardware stores to just spruce up your driveway. So snowplow won't be touching that either. So that's fantastic. So we're really happy with it. And so that's the Worx Landroid, 2nd year in operation. And so those guys at Landroid at Worx really helped a lot. Hopefully this is going to last for another 5 years or so. I'm not sure how long the battery will keep charging, but I'm sure it's going to be maybe at least another year. I think it's about $50, maybe $100 for a new battery. But it's totally worth it because, as you know, I'm saving 3 to 4 hours a week now. And so there it is. So there's Bootsie over there, somewhere in the great green yonder, cutting, trimming, cutting the clover, cutting the grass, keeping the island nice, all that kind of stuff. And still have a little bit of trimming to do, but not much. Maybe, we're looking at 15-20 minutes a month, just in a few spots that she can't get to. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoy it, and think about it. It's going to save you a lot of time. It does a fantastic job with the grass.